Yeah, I know it's been a while and haven't done anything in a long time. Well, I'm here in Buenos Aires. Um, I wanted to do kind of two things. I wanted to do a thing on this or the Rode Wireless Go interview mic, which is a new part of the kit, but I think I'm going to skip it and kind of talk about something a bit more personal, actually. Something which happened about 2 weeks ago. Now, as you know, we're all on lockdown. As you can see, the park is pretty full, and there's lots of people here, and they're all out enjoying the park. There's a rule on the weekends that people can come out in the park and socialize with 10 people now. Um, we might be going into the second phase of lockdown. Now, for me, it's kind of, I'm in a kind of equilibrium, a superposition, so to speak, neither here or there, but everywhere at the same time. Meaning that initially, when this whole COVID thing started, I wasn't one of those people who believed that the COVID was real. I thought it was actually just a flu which was going around, nothing more than a bad flu, and I've had a flu a couple of times and it's pretty bad. I was 100% skeptic. Don't get me wrong, I still do think that the numbers are inflated and a lot of the deaths have been written down as COVID deaths, but I don't believe they're COVID deaths at the same time. But as well as that, I think they were everywhere. Majority of the places approached it quite wrong in terms of maybe locking down too early, locking down everybody with a kind of blanket lockdown, and kind of one shoe fits all, which it doesn't. So at that stage, I thought that vulnerable people should be locked down. That means people maybe with conditions, preconditions like asthmatics and a heart attack and diabetes, the old people and people in the care homes and people in hospital. I thought those people should be locked down, but and other people who have had it, asymptomatic people should be allowed to go out and work and do activities as normal. Okay, so let's get to the point. So the point is, I've changed my mind. There's good reason for me changing my mind because 2 weeks ago I caught COVID. Now, like most men, I don't like going to the hospital or doctors and stuff like that. And like most black men, I like to be quite, yeah, I can deal with it, I can ride it out kind of thing. Now, for those who think they can ride it out, maybe you can, but if you're going to ride it out, make sure you have the right equipment with you. Very similar to a thermometer, there's a thing called oxyometer, which reads your oxygen levels. That's something very important I think everybody should have in their household, just like a thermometer. That will tell you if your oxygen levels are very low and dangerously low, and if they are, you can, quickly go to the hospital. Luckily, I had one at the time for other reasons, but I still read it out. I had a fever. I said, "Oh, okay, it's flu fever." I ride it. Day one, still had a fever. Day two, had a fever. 6 days on, I still had a fever. Shivers, muscle fatigue, like I've been to the gym, and then eventually it just got worse and worse. And I took my oxygen levels, and it was going down to dangerous levels. From then, I I went to the hospital. I did a COVID check, but I went to the hospital at that time. As soon as I got into the hospital, I was vomiting, had diarrhea, couldn't breathe, breath was practically gone. Um, they put me in a room, done some scans, gave me some fluid, dehydrated as well. And after that, they put me into another room which was there for a while, gave me oxygen while I was in the room through a mask. Um, and I think I was on over 5 liters of oxygen at that point. I was getting scans and steroids and cortisoids, intravenous liquid going into me and all that kind of stuff. So I was really sick and I was going downhill. So the doctors, after the scans, they put me into ICU because I was breathing very bad. I was in ICU. They monitored me for 24 hours. The 24-hour monitoring was intense. I couldn't move out of bed. He was tied down. And that was for 3 days, 4 days actually, with more scans and everything. But before I went to the ICU, we made arrangements and with some doctors in New York who convinced the doctors and the director of the hospital I was in to give me plasma. So I had plasma. And then I went into the ICU. When I was in ICU, I asked them about my lungs because they said my lungs were pretty bad, and that's when they told me I had double pneumonia, and over 50% of my lungs was infected. So it was quite dangerous. They said if it gets worse, they're going to have to put me on a ventilator, which I didn't want because they'll put you to sleep for 4 days and put a tube down your throat. And, that's kind of it. Usually when you go on a ventilator, you don't really come back off. You probably won't even come back into the world. So I managed to get a lot better. I believe it was the plasma. Got exponentially better every day. The pneumonia reduced and went down to like 25%. And then after a couple of days, after the 4th day, they moved me out of ICU. And I was back in the hospital room, and back in the hospital room, I felt a lot more comfortable, started to breathe a lot better, and basically improved. And by the 12th day, I was off the oxygen. I went down to 1 liter of oxygen, and then eventually I was off the oxygen. I can breathe on my own. From then, I asked the doctor if I can go home. I feel a lot better. I can do this at home. I got an oximeter at home so I can check my levels. Because all the time I was there, they were checking my levels like every 3 hours, oxygen levels. And through the night, it gets a bit dangerous as well. So I got home. I was a bit disorientated because you've been in the hospital for so long, locked up, people in white suits just come to see you. No one can come and visit you. You was totally isolated. So it's quite intense, and and it was very real. So I became a believer. I became a believer of COVID-19. So it's real. Just to point, quite frankly, it's a very real disease. It's not the flu. It's totally different from the flu. I never had pneumonia before. I never got pneumonia from the flu before. It is very, very real. So I just want to kind of put it out there to everybody who thinks it's not real. That is real. And also to just let them know, I think that everybody should have an oximeter in their house, just like a thermometer, to read your oxygen levels. That's the safest way to go. At least if you do write it out, at least you can check your oxygen levels and know if you're good. Beyond that, I would say, if you're over 4 days and you still got fever, go to the hospital, and just deal with it as quick as possible, because really, at that point, it could be pneumonia just building up in your lungs, and it all depends how big your lungs are. So, that's what I wanted to say. Do I agree with a full lockdown? Like I said, no, I don't agree with a full lockdown. As you can see, I'm out in the park and I'm not wearing a mask. Well, I got the antibodies, so I'm kind of all right. But I'm going to still play it cautious. I still got my mask in my pocket, and I'll be walking with it and wearing it. So I just want you lot to know that it's very, very real, and I just wanted to share that with you, that story with you. So it's changed my view, on some things you may not believe are true, and all that. Don't get me wrong, Event 21 and all the other stuff, Fauci and Gates. I wouldn't trust them with a barge pole. Um, you just got to be cautious at the same time. It's no game. You can die from it. Doesn't matter what age you are. Yeah. So this is just a kind of sharing of my experience with COVID-19, and there may be a second wave. And don't get me wrong, some people get it, like my wife and my son. They caught it, but they had no symptoms. They were asymptomatic. Now, me, from what I've heard, because of my blood group, A positive, it attacks my blood group a lot more aggressively. So that's another thing you have to watch out. Your blood group may cause you to get it and other people's not to get it. There's a lot of problems which come after COVID, like a kind of PSD. There's people who hallucinate. I mean, you have weird dreams, but people hallucinate, can't breathe, heart attack, kidney failure, and all that kind of stuff, and scarred lung tissue. I got a very small scar in my lungs. It's not really bad, and it's not really threatening or changing how I am totally. So I just want to share it all with you and the people there. This is my new mic, Rode wireless interview. Just testing it out here with my Osmo Pocket as a little setup, as a little side note. All right, I hope that's helpful and a helpful bit of knowledge for you. So, don't try and be this, well, I'm a big man, write it out. If you're going to do it sensibly, yeah? Get the oximeter and, monitor yourself. Make sure you're okay. Because I know other people who've actually, they found dead in their house. I'm talking people from Brixton, young people who grew up with, people who haven't heard from him for a couple of days, and when they go around the house, when they went around his house, he was dead, and it was COVID. And obviously he had side issues as well, but it was respiratory. I guarantee that was the pneumonia setting in. Okay, so that's me just giving you an update, just showing you that, a lot of people over there are not really paying attention to the rules and stuff like that. But the good thing about this country, they locked down very early, and hopefully they'll open up soon. But as well as that, second wave's coming. All right, that's me. I'm out. Take care. Bye.
I feel